Good afternoon, class 10. See, I have given you this 3 numericals homework for on 3rd of August, right? So let's see the numericals, okay? First one was from calorimetry. Two metallic blocks P and Q have masses in the ratio 2:1. They are supplied with the same amount of heat, okay? So you have to find, and also see the temperature rises by the same degree. You have to find the ratio. Compare means you have to find the ratio between their specific heat capacities. What is the formula of specific heat capacity? C is equal to Q by M delta T. So just see this one, I have written that. Q by M delta T. Now, what are the things which are constant? In both the cases, heat is same because it's mentioned, same heat energy. Also, rise in temperature is same. What is different then? Mass is different. So can I write then, if for both Q is same and delta T is same, can I write C is inversely proportional to M? Why? Obviously because Q and delta T are constant now. So then, obviously, if this portion is constant, so if C is equal to some constant by M, so can I write C is inversely proportional to M? Obviously. Now, what is given? The masses are in the ratio 2:1. That means specific heat capacity will be in the ratio 1:2. If it was directly proportional, just like for example, amplitude or say frequency, if frequency is in the ratio 1:2, pitch is in the ratio 1:2 because directly proportional. Amplitude 1:2, loudness 1:4. Like that, but in this case it's inversely proportional to specific heat capacity will be 1:2. Or you can also do it in this method. Say for first one, say for P, specific heat capacity is Q by M1 delta T. For Q, it's Q by M2 delta T. Then if I have to find the ratio, what do I have to find? C1 is to C2, that means I'll have to divide simply C1 by C2. So C1 by C2, you just divide, what are you left with? M2 by M1. Now M2 by M1 is not what is given. M1 is to M2 is given. That means M1 by M2 is given. M1 by M2 is given. Masses are given in the ratio P is to Q. So what is M2 by M1? 1 by 2. So C1 by C2, so you are getting 1:2. Okay, so any one you can do. Now, see the second one. A lens of focal length 20 centimeter is given. It forms an inverted image at a distance of 60 centimeter from the lens. So what are the things given? See, focal length given and image distance given. First question is, you have to identify the lens. What type of lens is this? Don't look at the answer which I have solved. What type of lens is this? Obviously convex lens, because inverted image means real image, and real image is only formed by the convex lens. Convex lens can form real as well as virtual, but concave always virtual, and virtual means erect image. So it's given inverted image, so we'll understand that the lens is convex lens. Okay. Now, how far is a lens present in front of the object? That means what is the distance between the lens and the object? That means you have to find the object distance. How will I find? Simply first, sign convention. Focal length for convex lens positive and V is positive. Why? It's because it's a real image. I've already explained sign convention. So where will you put the values? In the lens formula. Now, have I substituted the sign of U? No. Notice I have not substituted the sign of U, because U I will get the sign along with the value automatically. If suppose I had to find V, then I will not substitute the sign of V. I will substitute the signs of the rest, and when I will solve, I'll automatically get the sign as well as the value. See, I've got -30. -30 means what? That the object is present 30 centimeter in front of the lens. Obviously, if this is a lens, obviously if this is the direction of incident ray, if you have to measure from the optical center the object distance like this, opposite to the direction of incident ray, that's why it's negative. I've explained all this. So object is present 30 centimeter in front of the lens. Next was calculate the magnification of the image. Magnification M means V by U. Why won't I use I by O? Because I don't know the image size and object size. So that's okay. I have another formula. So I'll use V by U. V by U is coming as V is 60 and you just now have got minus 30. So minus 2. What does this minus indicates? Does it indicate magnification is less? No. This minus sign denotes whether the image is inverted or erect image. And it will obviously come as minus because it was real image. In the very beginning, the question, it was given inverted image. So minus sign denotes the inverted image. And what does a value indicates? If it's greater than 1, it's magnified, less than 1, diminished. Okay. Now, see the third sum. A piece of ice of mass 60 gram is dropped into 140 gram of water at 50 degrees Celsius. Now, when it is not mentioned, say, okay, let's first read the sum. Calculate the final temperature of water when all the ice has melted. Okay. Assume no heat loss to the surrounding. Why has it been given to you? So that you can use the principle of calorimetry. And anyways, in the numericals, we assume that no heat is lost to the surrounding. Because otherwise, principle of calorimetry will not hold. And rest of the things, few things are given. Specific heat capacity of water is given and specific latent heat of fusion of ice is given. So now let's do the sum. Notice, if ice is dropped into water, which one will gain heat? Obviously, ice will gain heat and heat will be lost by water. Ice is dropped to water. Now, why? That means heat energy will be gained by ice for two things. First, it will melt. Isn't it? First, it will melt. Calculate the final temperature means it's not that ice is only melting. That means ice is melting as well as it's changing the temperature. So first, ice first gains heat to change the state, 0 degrees Celsius to ice at 0 degrees Celsius to water at 0 degrees Celsius. Then when all the ice has melted down, then what will happen? Then the temperature will rise. Then from 0 degrees Celsius water to T degrees Celsius water. What is T degrees Celsius? Final temperature. Let the final temperature of the mixture be T degree. We don't know, we have to calculate. Okay. Now, okay, so first of all, ice gains heat first to change from 0 degrees Celsius ice to 0 degrees Celsius water. For that, latent heat will be observed, M1 into L, mass of ice given, L is also given. Now, from 0 degrees Celsius water to T degrees Celsius water, now it will be change in temperature. So, M1C delta T, that means 60 gram of ice first convert to 60 gram of water, then water at 0 degree to water at T degree. Delta T is the rise in temperature, so T minus 0. Okay. Total heat gained by the ice, then this plus this, obviously. What is it lost by water? M2C delta T, obviously. M2 is a mass of water given, C specific heat capacity of water, and delta T is now the fall in temperature for water, because there is a fall in temperature in water, isn't it? Water is initial at 50, it will come down to T. Okay. Now, according to the principle of calorimetry, obviously, total heat gained by the ice is equal to total heat lost by water. So, I have done that and then got T as 11 degrees Celsius. Now, notice delta T, even if you use delta T degree Celsius or delta T Kelvin, same. I think I have explained this many times. So, in the specific heat capacity or units, see, it's given 4.2 joule per gram per Kelvin. So, you can use it as 50 degrees Celsius or 50 K. We need not convert anything because this is given. Why will I convert? Because this is given in per gram and per Kelvin, and I am just finding the temperature difference here. So, it's same in both grams. So, we don't need to change anything. Notice this. Now, another set of numericals I have given you on 4th. A crane A lifts a heavy load in 5 seconds, whereas another crane B does the same work in 2 seconds. Compare the power of crane A to that of crane B. Power is rate of work done, so work by time For A it's W by 5. For B it's W by 2. W is same in both the cases because both does the same work. Just time is different. So you can simply divide these two and find the ratio of the powers. Easy. See the next one. A pond appears 2.7 meter deep. Appears means it's apparent depth. Refractive index of water is 4 by 3. Find the actual depth. This is a simple formula which you have to use. Just substitute the values and you will get. This one, see. A pendulum of mass 200 gram is displaced from the mean position A. Okay? To the maximum height B. Potential energy at A is 0 obviously because maximum will be at the raised position. This is 5 meter. What is the potential energy of pendulum at B? mgh. M 0.2. Why? Because convert 200 gram into kg. G is given. Take G as 10 meter per second square and H is also given 5. 10 joules. Now when it slowly comes down at all the points, the total mechanical energy is conserved. Isn't it? At this point the total mechanical energy is the potential energy because all the mechanical energy is possessed in the form of potential energy. Kinetic energy is 0. Maximum is potential energy. Now when it comes down gradually kinetic energy increases, potential energy decreases. But at all the points total mechanical energy remains constant mgh. So at C also it will be 10 joule then. What about at A? Total mechanical energy is the kinetic energy now. It's possessing only kinetic energy. So 10 is equal to half mv square. So I can find V from here. Okay. Now next is the block and tackle system. Block and tackle system of pulleys has velocity ratio 4. Draw a neat label diagram indicating the direction of load, effort, etc. Which one will you draw? The block and system in your book with 4 pulleys, and please always show the directions of load, effort, tension in the strings. Okay. So this one you will draw 4 pulleys. Draw the load where the load is acting. Draw this direction of load, effort and tension in all the strings. If it has got velocity ratio 5, then 5 pulleys in the upper block, 3 in the lower block, 2. Always notice in the lower block we have lesser number of pulleys. If you have say 3, then 2 in the upper block, 1 in the lower block. Now notice that the second part of the question is what will be the velocity ratio weight of the movable block is doubled. No change. Why? Because you have learned this. Velocity ratio is nothing but dE by dL. It's how much the effort arm moves by how much the load arm moves. So it has no change even if you double the weight. You remember when we were doing this, I have shown this derivation. The lower block weight, it affects the mechanical advantage, not the velocity ratio. Mechanical advantage will be less. Suppose if you have got 4 pulleys, then it will be 4 minus W by E. See, instead of N, it will be 4. So ultimately efficiency will be less. But no change in velocity ratio. That's why in the numericals, suppose you remember one numerical we have done where velocity ratio, another case changes, mechanical advantage, load was given, effort was given. So in few numericals we got mechanical advantage less than velocity ratio. So even if you have say 4 pulleys, that means 4 strands of tackle supporting the load, velocity ratio is 4 but mechanical advantage may or may not be 4 depending on load and effort. If it is 4, then efficiency will be 1. Okay, otherwise you remember in few numericals we have seen that mechanical advantage where load and effort was given and we calculated mechanical advantage from load by effort. Say load was given something and effort was given something. We substituted and we found that mechanical advantage we found less than the velocity ratio. So we have to notice if it's given or not. So practice the numericals from the pulleys like I have done. Practice those numericals, okay.